Hi friends, it's Deanna Willison with Our Blooming Catholic Life, and I'm here with our Wednesday, our second look at the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 9, verses 14 through 17. Whew, we're chugging along here. So let's begin as we always do with our St. Francis's prayer before the San Damiano crucifix. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Summe glorioso Deus, illumina tenebras cordis mehi, et da mihi fidem rectum, spem certum et caritatem perfectum, Domini ut faciam tuum sanctum, et verax mandatum. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Now there were about 5,000 men, and he said to his disciples, "Make them sit down by fifties in a company." And they did so, and made them all sit down. And taking the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, he looked up to heaven and blessed them. And he broke and distributed to his disciples to set before the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled, and there were taken up of fragments that remained to them 12 baskets. Now there were about 5,000 men. And he said to his disciples, "Make them sit down by fifties in a company." And they did so, and made them all sit down. And taking the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, he looked up to heaven, and blessed them, and broke, and distributed to his disciples to set before the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled. And there were taken up of the fragments that remained to them 12 baskets. Now there were about 5,000 men, and he said to his disciples, "Make them sit down by fifties in a company." And they did so, and made them all sit down. And taking the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, he looked up to heaven and blessed them, and he broke and distributed to his disciples to set before the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled. And there were taken up of fragments that remained to them 12 baskets. So many thoughts today. Today is like a new day. We've had a very beautiful, very reverent, very penitential funeral for my brother. He is safely in the columbarium. I cannot begin to tell you the relief, as well as being with others who miss him as much as I do. Really helps you to grieve and have that little bit of closure, and at the same time, that little bit of peace. Even though you're still mourning, don't think it's like this magic thing. Such a blessing that God has given us in the priesthood, these kind and holy man who said the Mass for us, as well as everybody who served at the Mass was just wonderful. And I think just the compassion, that's what I'm going to say, the compassion of all who were there, all who participated was, thank you. So how this is striking me like so many different ways. Just even on one hand, it's striking me in the Lenten way. So, he took up the loaves and the fishes. It's like, oh, is that the reason we eat fish during Lent? Okay, I don't actually eat fish, but some people eat fish during Lent. Is that why fish are okay? I don't know. That was just like a funny, fleeting thought. And it's okay to have funny, fleeting thoughts like that when you're doing Lectio Divina. What really jumps out at me is that Christ himself did the blessing and the breaking and giving thanks to heaven, right? He did all that, not in that order, but he did all that and then gave it to the disciples to give out to their small groups, right? It's almost like they had little parishes set up, and the 12 went amongst them and gave out. And there were more than, he had more followers than this, but it was given to the disciples to give this out to the people in their smaller groups. It's like the little foundling churches or parishes out there. And when they were done, they still had 12 baskets. Well, how many disciples were there? There were 12. So that is something that jumps out at me every time. It is this a commentary, almost like a prefigurement, a hint of the priesthood to come and of the duties that these men are going to have, both to act in persona Christi, to lift up the offering and give thanks to God, to set that thing apart and sanctify it, and then break it bless it, break it, and give it to all the people, that this is going to be the responsibility of these men, that you are going to feed spiritually these people. And we know in early Christian times, it seems like they took care of them very physically and materially as well, giving them food to eat, where they had all their belongings in common, a lot of them. And so they were able to all be fed physically as well as spiritually. But it was the responsibility of the disciples here, that you are going to care for these people, which is, it is a beautiful thing, because before that you did have, the day was beginning to decline and the 12 came. They saw the need of the people. Here's where it is. They saw the need of the people, but they saw the physical need of the people. And I think Jesus is hinting that someday their spiritual well-being is going to be yours too. Remember, they had just come back from this mission where they went out to the towns and preached the kingdom and healed many people. And then Jesus was going to take them apart like a little retreat to the desert, and all these people followed them. And Jesus had pity on them, and he preached to them, and he healed many. And then that's when the disciples were like, hey, these people also need physical food, and we should either we probably need to let them go because we don't have enough to take care of them. And Jesus is like saying, well, but you do. Like, I acknowledge that you see that. And I'm grateful for our priests who see our material as well as our spiritual needs, that they see our emotional needs as well. And they take care of us like good fathers would, right? And I guess I've been preaching so much about supporting our priests recently, and so I want to give thanks for them today. That's what I want to do. I think that's where this is leading me, giving thanks for our priests. And on some of our other book reviews, we looked at the hurting church and wheat and tares, and not every, some priests are truly more like Judas than Jesus, and that happens. And it's horrible when it happens. And reparations do need to be made. And we need to acknowledge that some have failed. There's talk right now about the John Paul II Shrine in Washington, D.C. It's run by the Knights of Columbus. And people are saying there's still Rupnik art in there. And it is horrific for survivors of abuse, whether it be at the hands of clergy or at the hands of others. I'll tell you, I could barely look at the walls or anything. I could just go in, pray before John Paul II, and I had to leave. It was horrible for me, and I was not even abused by a priest, but by knowing an abuser and who seems to be unrepentant did all that artwork, and there's the possibility that he used some of his victims as models. It's disgusting. And I hope that that's removed. But do not leave Jesus on account of Judas. Look at the others who saw the needs and met the needs of the people, truly took care of them as a good father would, as a good brother would. Looked out for you, defended you, made sure you were taken care of, who meets your spiritual needs, who is the leader in your group of 500 or whatever it is, who's the head of your parish family. Look after those priests and give thanks to God. They're not perfect. Some of them in very bad ways, and some of them in very minor ways that they're just human. So absolutely keep praying for our priests. It's one of the things that makes Lent a little weird for me is people may add Wednesday as a fast. Well, okay, so let's go back. Some people add Friday as a day of fasting and abstinence. Well, what if you do Friday year round? Well, then people tend to add Wednesday. What if you're already doing Wednesdays year round for priests and praying? Remember, we had that pardon crucifix with the chaplet for priests. What if you're already doing all that on Wednesday? Well, then some people add Monday. That doesn't work for my family just because that's the day where we have ground beef meals and we make leftovers for the rest of the week. So I've had to try and find other things I can do and be a little bit more creative with it and all. But so Wednesdays are a day that you can, year round, if you're not doing it already, pray and fast for priests. They need our help. That is the kind of help they need. They don't need women deacons. They don't need women priests. They need women who will pray for them and be thankful when they have a good shepherd. just my thoughts. That's just my reflection. Don't forget to put yours below. And if you like this series, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let me know. These all hit everybody differently, and it's great when we can be vulnerable and share that. Friends, may God bless you and keep you. May He make His face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may the good Lord bless you. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen.